Hi, Cookie Kids. Here's another great story for you today.
Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Once upon a time, in a peaceful forest filled with tall trees and singing birds, there lived 3 bears: Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear. They lived in a cozy little cottage they had built themselves, with walls made of warm wood and windows that let in the sunshine. Each bear had their own special things in the cottage. Papa Bear had a large bowl of porridge, a big chair, and a huge bed. Mama Bear preferred things a little smaller. She had a medium-sized bowl of porridge, a comfy chair, and a soft bed. And Baby Bear had everything just right for his size: a small bowl of porridge, a tiny chair, and a bed that fit him perfectly. One sunny morning, Mama Bear made a fresh pot of porridge for breakfast. As she ladled it into each of their bowls, steam rose in gentle spirals, filling the air with a delicious smell. But the porridge was too hot to eat. "This porridge is much too hot," said Papa Bear, blowing on his bowl. Mama Bear nodded. "It'll burn our tongues. Let's go for a walk in the forest while it cools down." Baby Bear clapped his hands. "Can we go by the big oak tree and look for squirrels?" "Of course," Mum Bear said with a smile. So the 3 bears put on their straw hats and left their cozy cottage, heading into the forest. Little did they know that a surprise visitor would soon arrive at their home. Not far from the bear's cottage lived a young girl named Goldilocks. She had golden hair that tumbled down her back, and her brown eyes sparkled with curiosity. Goldilocks was known throughout the village for her adventurous spirit. She loved to explore new places, and sometimes her curiosity got her into trouble. One morning, Goldilocks wandered into the forest, chasing a butterfly that fluttered ahead of her. She chased it over hills and through clusters of wildflowers until she realized that she was much further from home than she had ever been before. She looked around and noticed a small path winding through the trees, leading to a part of the forest she had never seen. "I wonder where this path goes," Goldilocks thought, as she brushed leaves off her dress. Without thinking twice, she followed the path deeper into the woods until she came upon a charming little cottage. It had a wooden door, cheerful curtains, and a chimney that puffed out smoke. It looked so inviting, nestled among the trees, that Goldilocks couldn't resist taking a closer look. Goldilocks walked up to the door and knocked, but no one answered. She peeked in through a window and saw that the cottage was empty. She should have turned around and gone back home, but she was too curious. "I wonder who lives here," she said to herself. She reached for the doorknob and found that it turned easily in her hand. The door creaked open and Goldilocks stepped inside. The cottage was tidy and warm, with sunlight streaming in through the windows. On the kitchen table, she saw 3 bowls of porridge, each a different size. Goldilocks suddenly realized how hungry she was after her walk through the forest. She sat down at the table and picked up the spoon from the biggest bowl. She took a bite. "Ouch!" she cried. "This porridge is too hot." She moved to the middle-sized bowl and tasted the porridge there. She frowned. "This porridge is too cold." Then she tried the smallest bowl. She took a spoonful and a smile spread across her face. "This porridge is just right," Goldilocks said, and she ate every last bite. Feeling full, Goldilocks noticed 3 chairs in the living room. She decided to sit down for a rest. She tried Papa Bear's big chair first, but it was much too hard. "This chair is too stiff," she said, squirming uncomfortably. Then she sat in Mama Bear's chair, but it was so soft that she sank right into it. "This chair is too squishy," she said, struggling to get back up. Finally, she tried Baby Bear's little chair. She sat down, and it fit her perfectly. "This chair is just right," Goldilocks said happily. But she wasn't very careful, and she wiggled around so much that crack! The chair broke into pieces beneath her. Goldilocks jumped up in surprise. "Oh no, I didn't mean to break it," she said, looking at the broken pieces scattered on the floor. After all the walking, eating and exploring, Goldilocks felt very tired. She climbed the stairs and found a room with 3 beds, each neatly made. She tried Papa Bear's bed, but it was so hard that she couldn't get comfortable. "This bed is too firm," she said, rubbing her back. Next, she lay in Mama Bear's bed, but it was so soft that she felt like she was sinking into a cloud. "This bed is too squishy," she said with a sigh. Then she tried Baby Bear's bed, which was small but perfectly snug. "This bed is just right," Goldilocks whispered as she pulled up the soft blanket. Within moments, she fell fast asleep, her golden hair spread across the pillow. Meanwhile, the 3 bears had finished their walk and were returning home, chatting happily about the sights they had seen. But when they opened the door, they knew something was not right. Papa Bear frowned at the table. "Someone's been eating my porridge," he said, looking at the spoon in his bowl. "Someone's been eating my porridge too," said Mama Bear, noticing her bowl had been disturbed. "And someone's been eating my porridge, and they've eaten it all up," cried Baby Bear, staring at his empty bowl. The bears exchanged puzzled looks and moved into the living room. "Someone's been sitting in my chair," grumbled Papa Bear, noticing his chair had been moved. "And someone's been sitting in my chair," added Mama Bear, spotting the dent in his cushion. "And someone's been sitting in my chair, and they broke it into pieces," wailed Baby Bear, pointing at the broken remains of his favourite chair. Papa Bear's brow furrowed, and Mama Bear's nose twitched. "We'd better check upstairs," she said. The bears climbed the stairs quietly, their footsteps creaking on the wooden steps. When they reached the bedroom, they found even more surprises. "Someone's been sleeping in my bed," said Papa Bear, his voice low with suspicion. "And someone's been sleeping in my bed," said Mama Bear, glancing at the rumpled covers. "And someone's been sleeping in my bed, and she's still there," Baby Bear exclaimed, pointing at the little girl curled up in his bed. The 3 bears stood around Baby Bear's bed, staring at Goldilocks. Papa Bear scratched his head. "Who is she?" he wondered aloud. "I don't know," whispered Mama Bear, "but she looks like she's been here for quite some time." Just then, Goldilocks stirred and opened her eyes. When she saw the 3 bears standing over her, their faces a mix of curiosity and surprise, she gasped and sat up quickly. "Oh no!" she cried, jumping out of bed. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." But before she could finish, she grabbed her shoes and dashed out of the room. The 3 bears chased her down the stairs, but they were too slow to catch up. Goldilocks ran through the living room, past the broken chair, and out the front door. She sprinted down the path, her heart pounding in her chest. "Come back!" called Baby Bear, but Goldilocks was already disappearing into the trees. Goldilocks ran all the way through the forest, not stopping until she reached her own house. She leaned against the door, catching her breath. Her cheeks were flushed, and she felt a mix of relief and shame. From that day on, Goldilocks promised herself that she would always think twice before entering someone's home without permission. She realized that her curiosity had led her into trouble, and that she should respect the privacy of others. Meanwhile, back at the cottage, the bears set to work fixing Baby Bear's chair and making new porridge. They talked about the strange visitor, wondering who she was and where she had come from. "Maybe she was just lost," said Mama Bear kindly. "Or maybe she learned a lesson today." Papa Bear nodded. "I hope so," he said with a smile. "But next time, let's make sure to lock the door before we go for a walk." Baby Bear looked out the window, wondering if they would ever see the girl with the golden curls again. He hoped she was safe and that she had found her way home. Though Goldilocks never visited the bear's cottage again, she often thought about that day in the forest. She made an effort to be kinder and more respectful to her friends and neighbors, always asking permission before borrowing things and learning the value of honesty. As for the bears, they continued to live happily in their cozy cottage. They went on walks in the forest, had breakfast together every morning, and kept their home as warm and welcoming as ever, but always locked the door when they left the cottage.